Good morning. The discussion of the topic is advances in ultra high voltage transmission and distribution. My name is Dr. Subbareddy. I am working as a principal research scientist at the High Voltage Laboratory, Department of Electrical Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. I will be assisted for the course by my research student Mr. Alok Ranjan Verma. We know that currently there is a significant requirement for electrical energy across the globe. Many countries including India are adopting high voltage AC and DC transmission. Further, HVDC is increasingly being implemented for long distance transmission for evacuating huge power transfer in comparison to the ultra high voltage AC. The primary objective of the course, this particular course, is to make the participants understand the recent advances or trends particularly which are happening in ultra high voltage levels, the importance pertaining to the basic insulation design principles, the critical elements associated and the issues related to the ultra high voltage transmission and distribution systems. Consider a typical power system network which has three important components: the generation, the transmission and the distribution. So, we will be focusing mainly on the transmission aspect, the growth of transmission to extra high voltage and ultra high voltage, the problems associated with and what are the advances in the high voltage and extra and ultra high voltage transmission systems. So, this typical power system network consists of a generating stations where the generation may be hydroelectric, thermal, nuclear or renewables, etc. The voltages which are generated are suitably through a step up transformer are stepped up to a particular appropriate level. This voltage is transmitted using the transmission towers over a length of few hundred kilometers or few thousands of kilometers. Then they are appropriately stepped down at the substation level, and the stepped down voltage is through the feeding arrangement is fed to the industries, agriculture or a domestic usage. So, consider a typical tower, high voltage or EHV or UHV tower. The important components of a transmission line consists mainly the insulators, very important component. The insulators function is of two types. One is mechanically they support the tower, then electrically they isolate the conductor from the tower. So, these insulators will be of different configuration. How the insulators were adopted from the early stages to the UHV level will be discussed in this course. Second comes the conductor, a very important component in the transmission system. You have different types of conductors, the advances in the conductors which have happened over the period. We will be discussing about the conductors which are being used for EHV and UHV levels. Then important component being the main tower, its foundation, then the earth wire, the importance of earth wire, then the hardware fittings. Hardware fittings or accessories are also very equally important in the transmission network. The hardware fittings consist of the corona control ring, yoke plate, the vibration dampers, mid-span repair sleeve, so many more. The tentative topics of the discussion for our course are as follows. We will have a brief introduction to the development of power transmission network in the country over a period of time. What are the recent advances particularly at ultra high voltage power transmission systems, what is the status in the present and what is the future growth planned in the country. We will discuss about the general design criteria for the overhead transmission lines, methodologies, the reliability factors, etc. We will focus on the major components of the high voltage transmission systems, types of conductors, the bundle configurations, conductor accessories, clamps, connectors, etc. We will look into the different types of tower configurations which are being used for UHV levels, the calculation of clearances for particularly surges of power frequency, switching, lightning, etc. And important is among the right of way the clearances which have to be maintained at EHV and UHV levels also will be discussed. Then the important components which I mentioned about the insulators, this is a very critical element which is in the power systems. The selection of insulators for a particular environmental areas is very important. The conditions of the environment play a role in the selection of the insulators. We will look into the selection of insulators particularly for the light polluted zones, medium polluted areas and heavy polluted areas. Then further, because of the densely populated areas particularly in the metros, the newer transmission network in case has to be made. So, whether the existing transmission lines or existing transmission network could be upgraded, we will be looking into this aspect. Then further, the design considerations particularly for the ultra high voltage substations, we will be looking into that, and a comparison of air insulated substation, hybrid and a gas insulated substations will be also dealt. Apart from this, we will focus about the electric and magnetic fields which are generated because of the ultra high voltage levels. The effect of this also will be looked into. Then the important component for the UHV or UHV systems is the insulation coordination. So, insulation coordination plays a vital role in the design aspect of ultra high voltage systems. So, we will be looking into the insulation coordination aspect. Then finally, the importance of grounding or earthing and the safety precautions or measures to be employed particularly at the UHV levels will also be discussed. Some of the important reference books are given here. Apart from these reference books, technical reports, we will also be looking into the standard international, national and international standard reports, some information from the reports which are being published by the utilities both in India and abroad, and also we will be looking in some information from the web also. So, these are some of the important references books which we will be adopting for this course. So, thank you very much.